Okay, yeah, I'm Paul from RPGFan. Thank you very much for meeting me today. First off, I wanted to ask what the original vision was for the game, and what was if in the early stages, what was the driving force behind this particular direction that you've taken?
Specifically, it was one thing. Well, in general, we are big fans of the dark fantasy kind of stories and settings. And one day we thought about what if in one of these worlds steel turns into stone. That simple idea that drove the rest of it was like the seat or the gravitational center of every discussion we had around this idea. Basically, it led us very quickly to the Forge, because in such a world, the hero has a problem. There's no steel. So how can you fight back the evil forces that try to conquer humanity? Is by forging your own steel with a mythical hammer that very conveniently is put at your disposal at the beginning of the game. So I think that the steel turn into stone idea was the genesis of everything, both the story and the gameplay.
Yeah, I can see that you've worked that into the gameplay through that really interesting forging mini game. How did you find getting the balance between that kind of cycle of forging and fighting, and was it difficult to reach this stage?
Very. in a word, yeah. Very, because we didn't want a forge simulator. We didn't want to complicate players' life too much, but at the same time, we wanted a meaty, significant experience. First of all, very visual, very physical. We wanted you almost feel the heat of the forge and the strikes on the billet and how the metal turns slowly into the shape of the weapon you are designing. And second, we also wanted all this is totally connected to the combat and to the economy of the game, because the forge needs resources. So these resources are scattered throughout the game. So the exploration comes into place right now. So it was like a mechanical watch. It's made of hundreds of pieces, and it doesn't work until you put the last one, and then everything makes sense. It was a very complex process because we had no references, essentially. There are other games with forges, but maybe not like ours, and yeah, I mean, it took a lot of time to get it right. You know, each ingredient in the right amount for the final outcome is what we wanted. This is first and foremost an action-adventure game, very heavily narrative-driven, that gives you also a lot of freedom to explore, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to give you such a big world. And it's also a world where the resources you need for the forge to work are scattered around, so you need to look for them, etc. So exploration, economy, combat, forge, and narrative. These are maybe the 5 driving forces that we had to work on them until they made sense.
And I can see from looking at the game as well, you've got the character designs of your main character Aaron and his companion Adso, and they're very distinctive, and they're not necessarily all following the same pattern. There seem to be influences from different areas and countries. Could you explain a little bit about that, or how that how the character design process?
Well, a good story needs good characters, interesting characters, because I think that what interests people the most is people. So if you are playing an adventure and we want you as a player get immersed into the adventure, get sucked into the ambience, you need to you need to want to take care about the characters. This is a very emotional thing. It's even prior to gameplay, you know. It's like, okay, this character connects with me somehow. I care for him or for them or for her. How is that? Right? So we designed the characters and from the beginning, and we made a lot of tests until we found both in Aaron and Atso and many other characters, because this is an adventure where you're going to find lots of different characters, a few of them quite surprising ones. And we wanted each one of them had a background into the world of the game. Atso, for example, is a scholar, is a youngster that has very little to do with Aaron. Aaron is a hermit that lives isolated in the forest. So is an adult guy that went through several situations I don't want to get into because I would spoil the game for you. So they couldn't be more different, and it was very fun to write the dialogues for those characters, because one is a youngster, a scholar that don't know nothing about life, and the other is totally the contrary. So sometimes this friction results in very funny dialogues about, I think this is a universal thing, right? I mean, adults versus teenagers, and we wanted to portray this everlasting conflict in both characters. We have more. We have an old master forger that, funny enough, considers Aaron a youngster because she's way much older, and then you can see how relative are things. We have a very funny Spectre with his memory shattered into pieces, that barely remembers anything, and you have to rely on him for a few missions in the game. So each one of them has a particular background and story that we think helps to make the narrative of the game more solid and believable and enjoyable.
I noticed there's a distinct musical motif going through the game as well, with I think one track, at least early on, one track in particular is being highlighted. Is it a single composer on this game, or the multiple? What was the sort of musical direction?
There's a single composer. Yeah. His name is Oscar Araujo, and he was the composer behind the Castlevania Los Shadow series. Right. So he's the same musician. He's a very nice guy, a friend of mine, an incredible composer, and he was very excited to participate in the project. It's a, I mean, they I don't know if in English you say that, but they broke the mold with him. Yeah, we say in Spanish. He's a quite particular guy. He's a he's a nature force. You know, he's a guy that is always thinking about new ideas, new concepts. It's been a pleasure working with him for the last 4 years, and I think that the soundtrack of the game is very nice. It suits perfectly the ambience, and it has some memorable pieces too.
Yeah, I think you allow different difficulty levels within the game as well.
Sorry?
So you allow different difficulty levels within the game, choice of that sort. So I can see you're kind of opening it out to however you want to play the game, from how I see it. But do you see an arc in getting used to the sort of fairly unique combat system with the 4 different attacks and the mutilations? Is this something that you feel that is designed to allow players to slowly become experts throughout the game at the system?
This in this game, you have to find your style. You have to find, depending on the player you are, the game will allow you to play the way you want. For example, if you're very aggressive, You can play, and you have the tools to do it. You have few family weapons that are specially designed. If you are, no, I don't want to time, I don't want to wait, I don't want to learn, I just want to attack, and okay, you can do that. You take huge risks, you're gonna die a lot, but you can do it. If on the contrary, you are a person who likes to take its time, to time properly the enemy, to see the enemy, actions, reactions, to learn. Be careful with that, because the enemies in this game, they are unpredictable. So they might surprise you with special attacks that you are not expecting. But then you can also find your sweet spot with other weapons, maybe heavier weapons, maybe longer weapons, maybe, I don't know, flamed edges, that are useful or more or less useful depending on your style. So I think that what the players are going to learn is that every new enemy that appears, you need to respect and pay attention, independently on how small they are. Because there are few small enemies this size, literally, that can put you in trouble if you just, disrespect them. Like, okay, you easy stuff. Don't do that. In this game, the lesser enemy can destroy you in seconds. So my advice is to pay attention to the enemies, because each one of them has their own features, meaning strengths and weaknesses, and what you as a player need to know is that you need to observe the enemy, you need to decide what tool is the best to tackle on that enemy, and I think that this is the key to move forward in the game, combat-wise.
Yeah, so don't discount anything. Basically, don't take anything for granted.
Don't take anything for granted. No.
Last quick one, please.
Yeah. So the game itself and the environments that you go through, is there going to be a lot of different environments that we'll see throughout this, that's spaced out throughout the game?
This game is a journey. It's a journey to the royal palace, where the queen, the evil queen, is waiting. And to reach to the royal palace, you'll have to get through a lot of different environments. That will give you a great sense of immersion in the world and journey. You'll see what I mean. It's a long game. It's a very long game, and there's a lot of different. Not only environments, but also enemies, and also NPCs that will participate somehow in the main story. But yeah, is at the same time you are going to be able to revisit every previous environment to get, for example, resources, because every environment is we have abundant resources in some environments. So you are always going to be interested in going back to, I don't know, the besieged village, for example, because there's a specific thing that you need for a specific skill that is especially abundant in that place. So yeah, I think that you should be prepared for a very long journey, a very extremely varied journey in this game.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you. There's a lot for us to take away. Thank you.
Thank you.